Cool. All right, so I see that there was a few questions coming in. I'll still wait for a few people to hop on in. But again, my name is Priscilla. I'm the brand partnerships manager here at Planoly. It's been a while since we've done these IG live sessions. Last time we did it, I think, was back in March. So we've had a very long pause since, but we're really excited to bring it back and bring you guys like real-time information that, you know, we can connect, and you guys can ask us any questions you guys have based on the topic or anything else. Usually I'll answer as I go, but kind of have a few talking points that we have just to talk about the topic. Just to give you a brief rundown, IG Live, I mean, we did it last year, so if you guys are new or are joining us again, thanks for joining us again. But IG Live is just a really great way to connect with your audience, you know, with your followers on Instagram in a way that is much more beyond just like the content that you're posting on your grid. That is very like planned, but obviously like, you know, these IG Live sessions are kind of planned as well. And for us, we want to make sure that, one, we stay on your schedule, so that way we're not just like popping in on you or like, hey, like join us on our live. You might be driving, you might be doing something. So what we'll be doing like the next few weeks is testing out a few times that works for you. Or if you're tuning in right now and you think of a better time that works for you, feel free to like drop it in the comments. If this is a good time, then let us know. We're going to be trying out a few times here and there, so feel free to drop it in. But just to start off, I see that Kat Craffle had asked, when will auto post work? So we actually have auto post. You have to have a business account on Instagram in order to have auto post. And if you, all you have to do for auto post is have a picture that is either 4x4 or 4x5 that meets Instagram's size requirements for it to auto post from Planoly. So if you're having any issues with that, feel free to DM us. We can figure it out for you, but auto post is already a feature that we're doing for all free and paid accounts. You just have to have Instagram business account. I see a question, can I use Planoly for 3 or more accounts? Yes, you can. That would be a squad account. So we have free accounts for, you know, obviously like 30 posts a month for like single Instagram accounts, but we do have duos for accounts that manage 2 accounts, and then we have like 3 and up and beyond how many accounts you need. So yes, we do have, you can use Planoly for many accounts. Any other questions? Okay, 12 to 2 p.m. lunchtimes. Yes. So I realized I think the next time that I'll be doing this IG Live, I'll probably be doing it at 1 p.m. Central. We're in Austin, so 1 p.m. Central, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, when like LA and San Francisco are already like getting close to lunch, because people in LA are probably barely getting to the office, so we don't want to like them sit down and then have to like tune in. They probably have to check their emails. So yeah, okay, cool. So just to get started, you know, when getting started on IG Live, basically, one second. Oh, and also about the Instagram accounts that you can manage multiple accounts. You can customize a duo to add accounts for $10 an additional account or user. So there's that. And for more information, you can just DM us. But again, getting started on IG Live, it seems pretty easy, but I think when you want to maintain a tuned in audience, you have to have planned it out. For us, we like to tell you guys in advance that we'll be online at, you know, Thursday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. So that way you can put it on your calendar, block off any time. And if you miss it, you know, it'll be on our IG afterwards in that little button. So you can, if you guys are missing this or just tuning in right now, you can tune in later and get the full script. But basically, you just want to pick out a topic that you're going to talk about, because I've seen a lot of Instagram lives where people will just hop on and they just don't know what they're going to talk about, and they'll just be like, hey guys, I'm here to answer any of your questions, and then it's just like crickets. There's like no questions, it's them staring at the screen, so it's just like very, very awkward. So you want to make sure that you come in with some talking points, so if nobody's asking questions, you already have something to talk about. So have that in mind, and figure out exactly what the goal of your Instagram live is. Is it for you to connect with your audience, or is it for you to give them information that they can use later on? Is it for your product that you're announcing a new feature, or is it that you're doing an event and you want to bring them in behind the scenes? Is it just a way for you to connect with them and answer any other questions? So think of what the goals are before you get started, so that way you know like how you're gonna use that IG live for you or your audience. And another question I used to get a lot is, how do you, like, I want to do IG live, because I always tell people, like, use IG live, but a lot of people are like, well, I'm too camera shy. I mean, I'm still camera shy. I started doing IG live and speaking for Planoly last year, and I had never spoken in front of an audience before. But I think you just like have to like throw yourselves at the wolves and just go for it. The more you practice, the more you get used to it. So definitely just, you have to get out of your comfort zone and just practice speaking. It's honestly the best way to get rid of, your camera shyness. So, and I know sometimes it's a little weird, like speak to a camera by yourself, where I'm like, it's totally fine. We're all doing it. So just, go for it. And honestly, that fear that you have is nothing compared to like the information that your audience wants to hear from you. So definitely keep that in mind. It's all in your head. And your audience, like, honestly doesn't care. I think we get in our heads way too much. So definitely just throw that camera shyness away out the window and just go for it. And also, if you already have like something lined out to what to talk about, it shouldn't be like so nerve-wracking. You should be fine. Just practice and you'll get those jitters away. The one true key though, I think, is keeping consistent on Instagram Live, whatever you're doing, because consistency, let alone on your grid, on all the content that you're doing, is very, very key. So don't promise your audience that you're going to be on Thursday at 11 and then not do it, and then say that you're going to reschedule or pop in under random time. Like, that honestly turns off so many people off. So make sure that you stick to your word on what you're telling them and just stay consistent. If it is that you're going to be doing an Instagram live like every other week or every week, like, let your audience know and get them trained to that, because honestly, there's many accounts that there's this one beauty blogger I follow, and every morning, like around 10 a.m. when I'm like headed to work, she goes on Instagram live and she does her live looks, like she does her full makeup, and then she'll post it later on during the day on her Instagram. So that's trained me to be like, okay, I want to see her do her makeup for the look that she's going to post on Instagram later on in real time. And I know she's going to be on Instagram every day, but her, like, although it's every day, it's consistent. She only like films herself doing makeup. So she's consistent with that and always has a very, very tuned in audience, and it's worked amazing for her. So definitely do that. And then you also don't want to go overboard. So like I mentioned, with that beauty blogger that, does her Instagram lives every day, like, while they are every day, her audience wants to see that. However, like, if you're doing something every day and it's like, okay, she's on here again and it's just like random stuff, like, that's not consistent. That's just going overboard. So don't overboard your audience. That would just like want them to like unfollow you more. So make sure you stay consistent with that, because like, again, consistency is key, and it's always a matter of training your audience with the content that you're putting out, be it for your grid, for your Instagram stories, for your Instagram live. Be consistent on all ends. And again, going back to the the camera shyness, just be prepared. Like, honestly, once you're prepared, you should not have any issues coming into an Instagram live. Have your talking points ready and just know what you're going to tell your audience. So, if people have questions, they can just drop them in, but you're just going. And please note that, if you do leave it open to your audience to just ask questions and not have any talking points, again, it's just going to be awkward. I actually saw Chrissy Teigen and John Legend get on live one day, and Chrissy was like, oh, I'm just getting on live, guys, and answering all your questions. Nobody was asking questions. They were just waving hi, love you, Chrissy, love you, love you, love you, love you. nobody was asking questions. And she was just like, okay, this is weird because you guys are just saying hi but not asking any questions, so what am I supposed to say? Like, it was just very, very awkward, and they were just like looking at the camera. They're like, okay, well, if you guys have any questions, just DM us. Okay, bye. And then what's that? So it doesn't matter if you have like millions of followers. I think sometimes especially when you're like a macro influencer, people just want to say hi and get attention. So you have to know how you're going to get your audience a little bit more engaged, and prep them for what they're about to see, rather than just like, hey guys, I'm here to answer your questions. And then it's just like awkward. So have talking points ready. Don't leave it open to your audience unless like after time, then they know what to ask. You know, I've tried to put it as a pin over here, but I'm encouraging any of you guys, especially you guys are just dropping in, to drop in any of your questions on Instagram Live, or anything about Planoly. So just go ahead and drop them in and I'll answer as I go. But I'm just going with my talking points. And again, getting started on live might be a little slow. I mean, we've been on hiatus on live for a few months now, but obviously like the more that you do it, the more that you'll train your audience. So they'll know every time you come on, they'll start asking questions. So train them for that, so that way you're not dealing with any awkward silences. And also what's really awesome about Instagram is that you can actually invite people to join. So if it's a matter of having like a guest speaker on, obviously you want to amplify your own expertise, but if you want to have like a speaker, you don't have to be in the same room. You can actually invite somebody. So right now, and I wish I could show you guys, there's a little button there I can invite anybody. So if I want to invite Brandy, I could. But we've had Instagram lives before where we've been to invited experts like Chloe from Chloe Digital. We've had her on our lives, and it's just, you know, one, you're amplifying your audience to their audience, but people are able to tune into a conversation and kind of like eavesdrop, and people really want to see what people are talking about rather than just like one person talking. So feel free to use that for your own advantage. It's a really, really helpful tool. So yeah. And then, yeah, so in terms of logistics and being in the same room should not be an issue. Just tell the person that you want to invite, you know, we want to bring you into our IG Live, and let's just talk about a topic and like hash it out, and then just invite them and it'll be easy. The one last thing when you're doing your IG Lives too is that you want to assess your performance. When you're on live, you'll see the ticker of people that are on live right now. And our number has been very consistent. Obviously, it's grown from the first 5 minutes that we were on. But if you see a certain point that you're talking about something and the numbers just drop, like, keep that in mind. Like, okay, at this certain time mark, people dropped. Why was that? What was that I was talking about that people were just tuned out and, you know, didn't care about anymore? So keep those things in mind. Obviously, people will tune in and out because they can just check in for a few minutes and are busy. Like, you know, we all have busy lives. So it's very important to keep these lives very short. You don't want to go for like an hour, or like, I think 30 minutes is even like overboard. We try to keep these like 15-20 minutes all the time. So yeah, just make sure to keep them very, very consistent and short, sweet and short. But always keep track of your performance. At the end of the live, you'll see how many people you have had on during the whole session. So keep KPIs, key performance indicators, and numbers of like how one live did better than the other. What were the factors that, you know, helped that? Was it because you promoted it one week and you did in another week that it helped you, you know, the one with the higher viewers do better? Or is it because you had a guest speaker? Is it because that like it performed better? So keep track of all those little factors that help, you know, indicate why you had a bigger audience, and then you know, replicate those so you can keep having a tuned in audience. You always want to just like keep them tuned in. And then one really cool factor, I mean, Instagram is just allowing us to do so much on one platform. So aside from just doing live, obviously, like, we want to talk to you guys and ask, you know, answer any questions you guys may have. You also have Instagram polls and Instagram questions to answer any, like, have your audience have a say about what the content that they want to see. So if there was, for example, like what we could do from our side is after the session, we can do a post and like say, did you tune in to our IG live? And the next one could be like, what is a better time that works for you? If you weren't able to tune in, what is a time that works better for you? Use all that information that Instagram is able to let you pull to dictate how you're going to, direct your next Instagram live, and even grab content ideas. If you're like running out of ideas, your audience there's so much that your audience wants to hear from you. So just make sure that you're using either polls or questions so you can really hear their input, get that information, and apply it to the content that you're going to be building out for their next live. It's always really, really helpful. Oh, thank you for that comment. These earrings are from Argento Vivo, I think. Yes. So again, a lot of people are always like, Instagram Live's too much. It's like, I'm just going to be like, my audience isn't tuned in. But honestly, I feel, in my opinion, the more that I see people, or the more lives that I see, the more that their content starts showing up on top of my feed. So in a way, it's how you're going to beat the algorithm. And everybody constantly wants to know how to beat the algorithm. And Instagram wants you to use every tool that they have for you to connect with your audience. So obviously using polls, using questions, using all the features within stories, and then live. Because if your audience is constantly being tuned in to your lives, then Instagram's going to be like, well, you love seeing their content, so obviously you want their content to the top of your feed. So keep that in mind. Practice it. Like if it is once a month, starting off with once a month or every other week, like try that. I think now that I'm like thinking about it, we might do a blog post about like ideas to get started on doing Instagram lives, because some people don't really know what to talk about when they do these IG lives. And for us, like we just talk about Instagram and Planoly, but for everybody it's a little bit different. But it's just a matter of just like doing it and getting your audience more engaged. Because honestly, you just want your content to be at the top of everybody's grid. And with this algorithm, it's really, really hard to get that engagement. But if you're doing lives, you're doing questions on stories, doing polls, anything that is really going to harness that engagement from your audience, do it. Instagram wants you to do it, so go ahead and do it, and then your content is just going to start performing better. And if it doesn't, like honestly, let us know, because so far we've just seen like great performing content from people that have just done all this through Instagram. So we want to hear your ideas, and if you guys have any questions on that, feel free to let me know. But that kind of is the gist of it, trying to keep it really short so nobody is like, you're talking too much. But let me go back to some of the questions. Okay. I think the first question. So Luna Serenity Yoga, I'm not familiar with your services. What do you guys provide? So we are an Instagram planning, Instagram visual planner. So we help you plan out all your content for Instagram so you can see how it's going to look on the grid ahead of time before you post it. And it's also a scheduler. So once you see everything, how it's going to look on your grid, you just upload your content to the Planoly dashboard, and then you can arrange it to however you want your grid to look. Then you can actually add your captions, and one amazing tool that we have is our hashtag manager. So that way you can always paste a group of hashtags that you can use for all your posts. But we also recommend always diversifying your hashtags so you're not always like using the same ones, because your content is not all the same. So make sure that you're diversifying it and also applying the correct hashtags that apply to the image. So after that, you can schedule it, and we also have auto post, which is awesome for Instagram business accounts. So that way you can just like let your content run up to your Instagram. We also do scheduling for stories, and for online retailers. We also have Shoppable that allows you to have a link in your bio that makes your Instagram shoppable. So that way everybody can link out to whatever you're directing them on Instagram. And it's all linked in within Instagram too. So would you suggest planning all your social media posts for a week at a time? Clear skies. Can you clarify that question? Would you suggest planning all your social media posts for a week at a time? Okay, I think I know what you mean. I think you mean having all your posts just scheduled out for the rest of the day, for the week, and then schedule again for the next week. I think that's helpful, but you also have to think like ahead, so you're not caught in a moment where it's like, oh man, like I need to, think for like the next month. Also, like for us, like we're already planning on holiday on December, so there's many brands that start thinking about holiday, way ahead of time, like starting summer. So think of those content posts that you're going to be doing. I think for social, it's helpful to do it a week at a time, but if you're also doing content on your blog, you should be doing that way ahead of time for all your holiday content. I know it's November, but I think everybody should have their December post done by now. And especially if you're doing, any campaigns, that should already, your campaign that you're doing or anything that is holiday related, if you're bringing in influencers or brand partners, those partnerships should have already been solidified. So it helps to have things done way ahead of time, but for things like holiday. But if it's like, you also want to be able to move in content that's relevant to the time. So if it's something going viral, like, what am I thinking? Like the election or anything, that's going viral in the news or like in social media. If there's like a meme that's going viral, like, and you find that your brand is able to like move in, like it ties in with your brand in a relevant way, then you should be able to drop that into your content seamlessly without forcing it. So always give yourself some space to, of course, like plan out your content, but also be able to like drop in relevant little content that fits into whatever's going on at the time on social. So Elizabeth Elizabeth. I'm working in a digital agency in Indonesia. My clients always demand higher followers, but the followers are not so easy to be engaged. Suggestion. So like I mentioned in this live, definitely doing IG lives is helpful, and taking advantage of all the tools that Instagram has for you. Obviously, like, you have to make sure, for me, like if I'm not getting an engaged audience, I have to take a step back and look at what's not working. And people will always look at the highest performing content to be like, okay, this did great, so let's go ahead and do it again. But also take a look at your worst performing content. If something completely tanked, didn't do well, don't just throw it out the window. Like, analyze it. I think it's so important to just not focus on the positives and kind of, analyze the negatives and see why certain things didn't work. How are you going to make it perform better? You have to keep a full KPI sheet of what's your best performing content. And we actually have a KPI sheet on the Planoly blog, so I definitely suggest you look at that. That's helped me when I worked in agency, figure out what didn't work, what worked well, and then definitely using engagement tools that Instagram has for you to really get to know your audience, understand what your audience wants to see, and with them engaging in that, that's going to help amplify your engagement. So you're killing two birds with one stone, understanding them a little bit better, and if they engage with that, then your content is just going to show up on their feed a little bit more. So take advantage of all those tools. I definitely recommend that. And I think that's it for questions. But again, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to DM us. And if you're just tuning in, and weren't able to be on the live session, this will be on our stories for a while. But again, thanks everybody for joining us today. I hope I answered all your questions. And again, I always recommend everybody going to the Planoly blog. We have so much information over there. And we'll be doing this again in 2 weeks. So we'll be putting it on our Instagram, but we'll be doing it on the 15th. So stay tuned for that. And it'll be at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Central, and 2 p.m. Eastern. So hopefully that's a better time for everybody. But again, feel free to DM us any of your comments, and we'll see you on the next time. Thanks, guys.